They were the kind of couple people envied. Picture perfect, wealthy, influential. Ethan and Camille Ross had it all, or so it seemed. He was a rising star in corporate law. She was a celebrated artist, her name whispered in elite galleries across the country. Together, they hosted lavish dinners, posted curated, love-filled photos, and lived in a stunning lakefront estate in Oregon. But behind their crafted smiles, something sinister simmered, something dark enough to destroy everything. It started with a whisper. Ethan had confided in his sister, Ava, one cold October evening, a month before he died. "If something ever happens to me, don't believe it was an accident." Those were his last words to her. Words said over a glass of wine and a trembling hand. Words she never took seriously. Not then, but now, Ava would give anything to go back and listen. Camille had always been the enigma. Stunningly beautiful, magnetic, but under her charm lived a storm. One that had slowly eroded Ethan's soul. Friends had noticed his once bright energy fading. His laughter had grown quiet, his smiles more forced. What no one saw were the late-night arguments, the bruises he wore under his shirts, the surveillance camera he installed secretly in his study, and the journal he kept, pages thick with fear, love, and secrets. Camille, to the outside world, was a devoted wife. But behind closed doors, control was her art. She didn't just paint on canvas. She painted narratives, manipulated truth. She was gaslighting Ethan, convincing him he was losing his mind. Every confrontation ended with her in tears and Ethan apologizing. "You're imagining things, baby. You always overthink." But Ethan wasn't imagining. Not the strange calls he overheard. Not the way Camille would disappear for hours. And certainly not the voice he recorded on his hidden mic. Deep, masculine, and definitely not his own. It belonged to Logan Blackwell, a name that would haunt the Ross family forever. Logan had been Camille's secret for over a year. A struggling sculptor with a criminal record and a temper as fierce as Camille's charm. They met during one of Camille's gallery shows. Within weeks, the affair began, intoxicating, dangerous, and fueled by greed. Camille wanted more than passion. She wanted Ethan's life insurance policy, $2 million, a new life, and Logan promised to give it all to her. All she had to do was get rid of Ethan. The plan was meticulous. Camille would lure Ethan to their lake house for a weekend reconnection retreat. She'd drug his wine, make it look like an accidental fall. Logan would hide until it was over, help stage the scene, and then disappear. But Camille underestimated one thing: Ethan's intuition. The night he died, Ethan knew. He didn't drink the wine. Instead, he faked sleep, turned on the hidden camera in the room, and waited. What he captured was chilling. Camille, standing over him with a pillow in her hands. Logan emerging from the shadows with a syringe. A hushed argument. "I thought you said he drank it. He's breathing too hard." "Just do it, Logan. We don't have time." Ethan sprang up, adrenaline pumping, lunged for his phone. But Logan was faster. A struggle broke out. Screams, a crash, and then silence. When the police arrived 14 hours later, Camille was sobbing in the driveway. Bloody, disheveled. She told them Ethan had attacked her in a jealous rage. That Logan, her friend, had tried to intervene. In the chaos, Ethan had fallen from the upstairs landing. The footage Ethan recorded? Gone. The camera was smashed. The journal? Missing. And so, the story held. Logan vanished. Camille was never charged. But Ethan's sister, Ava, wasn't convinced. She knew Ethan too well. His fear was real. His warning rang in her ears every day. So she hired a private investigator, dug into Camille's phone records, found a burner number linked to Logan, discovered a deleted email from Camille's account titled Plan A, Lake Weekend. It took 6 months, but eventually the truth cracked through the surface. The real breakthrough came from the least expected source, Camille's own mother. Racked with guilt, she turned over a safe deposit box key Ethan had once entrusted to her just in case. Inside was a backup drive, and on that drive, the full footage. Ethan's last moments, his last breath, his truth. The trial was national news. The tapes were played in court. The jury cried. Camille didn't. Logan was arrested 2 states away, living under a false name. In a courtroom packed with reporters, Camille's mask finally shattered. Her crocodile tears didn't sway the jury. Her manipulations, once her greatest weapon, were now evidence of guilt. She was sentenced to life without parole. Logan received 35 years. Justice, it seemed, had been served. But for Ava, justice wasn't enough. Her brother was still gone. And the question that haunted her the most wasn't, why did Camille do it? But how long had Ethan been living in fear? The last page of his journal read, I still love her. I don't know why. Maybe that's the most dangerous part of all. Love had blinded him. Betrayal had silenced him. And justice came too late. But Ava swore she'd turn his story into a warning, one the world couldn't ignore. She started a foundation for victims of psychological abuse. She published Ethan's journal, and she made sure Camille Ross would never be forgotten, not as the adored artist, but as the woman whose lies ended a life. But just when the dust began to settle, a letter arrived. No return address, no signature, just 5 chilling words on a crisp white page. You got the wrong woman. Ava's hands trembled. She flipped the letter over. A photo fell out. It was a still from Ethan's hidden camera. But it wasn't Camille holding the syringe. It was someone else. Someone Ava recognized. Someone very close. Her knees buckled, and that's when she realized this story wasn't over. Not even close. Ava's hands shook as she examined the photo. The face was slightly blurred, but unmistakable. It was Dr. Marla Jennings, Camille's therapist, and Ava's friend. She had referred Camille to her a year before the murder. Ava had even confided in Marla when she first suspected Camille was hiding something. All those sessions, all those phone calls, she had trusted her. And now, here she was, holding the needle meant to kill Ava's brother. The betrayal felt like acid in her veins. But why? Ava dove back into the case. She pulled phone records, appointment logs, everything. And the more she looked, the clearer it became. Dr. Marla Jennings wasn't just a therapist. She was orchestrating something far darker. Camille had seen Marla twice a week for a year, oddly frequent for someone who claimed to be healing. But according to Camille's old journals, which Ava later recovered through a court order, their sessions were less therapy and more strategy. Marla had a twisted obsession with the psychology of manipulation. A failed academic, she had lost her license in another state for unethical conduct, something Camille conveniently left out. In Oregon, she practiced under a different name. Ava had uncovered fraud, but it was bigger than just deception. Marla had trained Camille, groomed her, fed her strategies, taught her how to exploit Ethan's insecurities, how to gaslight, how to control him. She didn't just watch the murder unfold. She had designed it. The question was, why? Ava found her answer buried in an old case file from Marla's past. An eerily similar situation involving a man named Richard Hale, who died under mysterious circumstances after his wife began therapy with Marla. That death was ruled as suicide, but his sister, too, had tried to push for an investigation. She disappeared 2 months later. Ava's blood ran cold. This was no coincidence. Marla had a pattern. She preyed on vulnerable women, twisted them into weapons, and watched as their partners crumbled under psychological warfare. She was the puppeteer, the mastermind, and she was still out there. Ava went to the police with the evidence, but what she had wasn't enough. The photo could be fake, they said. Camille never mentioned Marla in court, and Camille, now serving life, refused to talk. Ava was hitting dead ends until she received a second letter. This one contained only 3 words. She's watching you. Attached was a screenshot of Ava walking her dog. The timestamp? 1 hour earlier. The game had begun. Ava changed her routine. She installed cameras, bought a handgun, but it didn't matter. Marla was always one step ahead. Ava started seeing shadowy figures outside her home, hearing noises at night. Her emails were hacked. Her phone glitched. She even found a dead bird nailed to her door. It was psychological warfare, just like Marla had done to Ethan. But Ava wasn't backing down. She revisited the lake house where Ethan died. It had been sold to a new owner, but Ava convinced them to let her in for closure. What she found changed everything. In the crawl space beneath the stairs, she discovered a second hidden camera. Ethan had installed more than one, and this one had never been found. The footage was corrupted, but salvageable. She sent it to a forensic tech friend. 2 days later, he called her with trembling words. "You need to see this." The footage showed the moments before Ethan's murder. Marla entering through the back door, dressed in black, wearing gloves. Camille whispering, "I don't think I can do it." Marla replying coldly, "Then I'll do it for you. But you remember our deal." A deal. There it was, proof of conspiracy. And the final nail? Marla turning to the camera, unaware it existed, and smiling. With this new footage, the police had no choice but to act. Dr. Marla Jennings was arrested in a quiet suburb 40 miles outside Portland, living under a new alias, Mara Hill. Inside her home were files on dozens of patients, audio recordings, surveillance photos, even a twisted manifesto titled, "Redesigning Power, the Psychology of the Perfect Murder." In court, Camille finally confessed. Yes, she wanted Ethan gone, but she hadn't planned to go through with it. Marla pushed her, threatened her, said she would go to the police with doctored evidence if Camille backed out. She'd promised a new life, a new identity, and an escape from a marriage Camille claimed was too suffocating. But in the end, Camille had been nothing more than a pawn, just like all the others. Marla showed no remorse. In her final statement, she smiled at Ava and said, "You of all people should thank me. I freed him. He was never going to leave her." Not really. Ava didn't respond. She didn't need to. The court sentenced Marla Jennings to 2 life sentences without parole for the murder of Ethan Ross and for conspiracy in the death of Richard Hale. Camille's sentence remained unchanged. Logan turned state's witness in exchange for a reduced sentence. Justice this time felt complete, but Ava still felt the weight of her brother's final words. "If something happens to me, don't believe it was an accident." He was right. And finally, someone listened. But just when Ava thought the past was behind her, she received a final package. No return address. Inside was a USB drive. She plugged it into her computer. One file, one title, patient number 28, Ava Ross. Ava's heart dropped. She clicked play, and Marla's voice came through the speaker. "This one, she doesn't even know she's mine yet. Now, the hunter has become the hunted, and the story isn't over." Ava froze, staring at the screen. Marla's voice echoed again. She believes she's safe now, but she's already part of the experiment. The video was grainy, black and white, timestamped 2 years before Ethan's murder. It showed a therapy room, a couch, a coffee table, a blurred figure. Ava. She was sitting, talking, unaware she was being recorded. Ava had never been Marla's patient, or so she thought. That year, after a traumatic breakup, she had gone to see a therapist recommended by a friend. She remembered the woman as kind, reserved, a bit aloof. The name on the door was Dr. Mara Hill. The realization hit her like a freight train. Marla had studied her, manipulated her, gained her trust long before Ethan's death. This wasn't random. It was personal. Ava's mind spiraled. How many of her decisions had been her own? Had Marla planted the seeds of suspicion against Camille? Had she nudged her toward revenge, knowing she'd be the one to uncover the truth? Was she the final pawn in a larger game? She called the police, but they claimed the drive didn't change anything. Marla was behind bars. Case closed. But Ava knew better. This wasn't over. That night, Ava couldn't sleep. At 3:13 a.m., she got a text from a block number. "Still think you're safe?" Then another. "Check under your bed." With trembling hands, she flipped the mattress. There was a sealed envelope taped to the frame. Inside, photos of her, in her house, asleep, in the shower, leaving for work, all recent. Someone was watching her, and it wasn't Marla. The next day, Ava visited the prison. She demanded to speak with Marla. At first, Marla said nothing, just stared with that eerie, detached calm. Then she leaned forward and whispered, "He was never the first, and neither are you." "What do you mean?" Ava snapped. Marla smiled. "You think you won, but I only planted the garden. Now others are harvesting the fruit." She slid a piece of paper across the table. One name. Ava read it and went pale. Detective Claire Mason. The very detective who'd helped Ava bring Marla down. Back home, Ava dug into Claire's background. What she found shattered her. Claire had once worked in Marla's hometown, in the same department that ruled Richard Hale's death a suicide. Claire's name had been buried in those files. She'd handled the case, closed it, and months later, she relocated to Portland. Ava felt the walls closing in. She trusted Claire, confided in her. They'd celebrated Ethan's justice together. But now it looked like Claire wasn't hunting Marla. She'd been protecting her, or worse, replacing her. That evening, Ava called Claire. No answer. She drove to Claire's house, heart pounding, adrenaline pumping. The lights were off, car gone, but the door was unlocked. Inside was empty. Clean, too clean, as if someone had erased all trace of their existence. But upstairs in the guest room, Ava found something. A wall covered in newspaper clippings, photos of victims, notes, red string connecting names. All women, all tied to sudden deaths of their partners. All had sought therapy. At the center of the web, Dr. Marla Jennings. And just beneath it, Detective Claire Mason. There was more. A second USB drive, labeled Harvest Protocol. It was encrypted, but Ava knew who could crack it. Her tech friend Nate. She sped to his place and handed it over. 10 hours later, Nate called. His voice was tight, shaky. Ava, this isn't just about your brother. He sent over the files. It was a database. Names, photos, case files, locations. 32 women. All patients. All part of what Marla had called the garden. Each one psychologically profiled, manipulated, and set loose on unsuspecting partners. A mass social experiment. And Claire? She wasn't just an accomplice. She was continuing the work. Ava couldn't breathe. She realized now, this wasn't a story of justice. It was a network, a system, a legacy of mind control, gaslighting, and murder disguised as therapy. And Ava, the Avenger, had been handpicked, played, from the very beginning. As she scrolled through the files, she stopped on one entry. Subject number 33, status, active. Name, Islam Madden. Location, Portland. Occupation, child therapist. Relationship, engaged to no agreeing. Attached was a video clip. Isla speaking gently to a man, comforting him. Then cutting to surveillance footage. The man was now dead. Reported as suicide. The pattern was happening again. Ava knew what she had to do. She couldn't trust the police. She couldn't trust the justice system. She had to stop Isla, herself. She found Isla at a community fundraiser. Sweet, charming, just like Camille had been. Ava approached casually. "I love your speech," she said. Isla smiled warmly. "Thank you. I just want to help people." Ava stared into her eyes and saw it. That same detached vacancy. The same mask. This was no coincidence. This was design. Later that night, Ava received one final text. "You're in too deep." Then, a photo of Isla and Ava talking. That day, from across the street, someone was still watching. Someone knew every move Ava made, and they were always one step ahead. The garden wasn't dead. It was just beginning to bloom, and Ava had become its greatest threat, or its next victim. The next morning, Ava packed a bag. She didn't know exactly where she was going, just that she had to disappear. But when she opened her front door, someone was waiting on her porch. A teenage girl, no older than 16. She looked terrified. "You're Ava Ross, right?" "Yes." "Who are you?" Ava asked, tightening her grip on her keys. The girl pulled a flash drive from her hoodie pocket. "My sister." She was patient number 25. She handed the drive to Ava and turned to leave. "They'll come after me if they know I talked to you." "Wait, what's your name?" The girl didn't answer. She just ran. Ava plugged the drive in her laptop. It was different from the others, more personal. It contained video diaries, filmed by the girl's sister, Lena Morris, over the course of 6 months. A young woman with a warm smile, slowly unraveling on screen. The early clips showed Lena happy, in love, seeing a new therapist. She glowed when she spoke about her boyfriend, Mason. But then something changed. She became paranoid, frantic. "I think she's making me doubt him on purpose, my therapist. I used to love Mason. Now I can't tell what's real." In the final clip, Lena looked hollowed out. Her voice barely a whisper. "She told me to trust my instincts. That if I even felt he was a liar, that meant he was. That I had to protect myself, even if it meant ending it. 2 weeks later, Mason was dead. Stabbed. Lena was found catatonic beside the body. Institutionalized. Her therapist? Dr. Isla Madden. Ava's blood ran cold. There was no more doubt. Isla was part of the garden and fully active. But why continue the protocol now? Why taunt Ava? She went back to Nate, her hacker friend. He decrypted a second layer on the original USB Marla had left. It revealed a list Ava hadn't seen before. Names, not of victims, of candidates. Subjects who had passed Marla's psychological test for susceptibility. Most were crossed out, terminated, vanished, imprisoned. Only 2 names remained uncrossed. 1. Ava Ross. 2. Sasha Claire Mason. Ava couldn't wrap her head around it. She'd never agreed to participate in anything. And yet she had been monitored, manipulated, groomed. Had everything since Ethan's death been part of a final test? Had she become the experiment? A new protocol surfaced in the files. One Ava hadn't seen before. The Phoenix Directive. When a subject breaks free of conditioning and achieves full awareness, allow them to believe they are in control. Guide them to eliminate remaining liabilities, then extract them for reprogramming. Extract, not kill, not imprison, reprogram. Ava realized it then. She hadn't won. She was being directed. Her every move, chasing Isla, confronting Claire, even finding the USBs, was all part of the game. She wasn't stopping the garden. She was being groomed to lead it. Determined to cut the strings, Ava set a trap. She leaked false information to Isla through a burner email, posing as another candidate. She claimed to have footage of Isla coaching Lena into murdering Mason and threatened to release it. The bait was taken. Isla agreed to meet in a public library parking lot after hours. Ava waited, hidden, camera rolling. Isla arrived, but she wasn't alone. Claire Mason stepped out of the car with her, gun drawn. "You should have stayed quiet, Ava," Claire said calmly. "We were rooting for you. You were so close to being ready." "Ready for what?" Ava snapped. "To become a monster like you?" Isla laughed softly. "We don't make monsters. We liberate women. You manipulate them. You turn them into murderers." "No," Claire replied. "We help them survive men like Ethan." Ava's breath caught. "You think Ethan was a threat?" Claire took a step forward. "We know he was. You think we just pick names from a hat?" Ethan was flagged in 3 prior investigations for emotional abuse. Never charged. Never caught. Classic gaslighter. Ava shook her head in disbelief. "That's not true." Claire pulled a small recorder from her pocket. She hit play. Ethan's voice crackled through the speaker. Cold, demeaning, mocking. "She's just another broken girl pretending to be strong. I give a year before she cracks and begs me to take her back." Ava's knees buckled. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "You always thought Ethan was perfect, but we saw who he really was," Isla said. "He was patient zero, and you were meant to end him." Silence stretched between them. Ava looked from Isla to Claire, her heart torn. Everything she knew was now a lie. And still, something felt wrong. Too convenient. Too precise. Then it clicked. They had shown her exactly what she needed to hear. Just like Marla always had. Another manipulation. Ava made her choice. She reached slowly into her jacket, pretending to pull out the footage. Instead, she hit the button on her phone. The live stream went active. Thousands of viewers from a private forum were now watching. Everything Isla and Claire said was out in the open. Their twisted ideology, the network, the harvest protocol. The trap had reversed. Claire lunged. Ava ran. Gunshots echoed in the dark. Ava ducked behind a concrete pillar, breathing hard. She peeked out. Claire was down, shot by someone else. A shadow stepped forward. Not Isla, not Claire. Someone new. A man. "You were never supposed to make it this far," he said. "Who the hell are you?" Ava demanded. He held up a badge. "FBI. Deep cover. This operation just went sideways." Before Ava could respond, sirens wailed. Dozens of agents swarmed the scene. Isla was arrested. Claire was dead. The Phoenix Directive had failed. Or so it seemed. 2 days later, Ava gave her statement. She was offered protection, a new identity. a clean slate. But that night, she opened her inbox. A single message waited. Even a garden scorched by fire leaves behind seeds. Attached, a photo of her, sleeping. Again, the cycle wasn't over. Ava didn't sleep after that. How could she? Someone had been in her house. Close enough to stand over her while she slept. Close enough to watch. It meant one thing: this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The garden wasn't just an underground experiment. It was a belief system, and its roots went deeper than she'd ever imagined. She sent the photo to Nate, her hacker friend. Metadata is stripped, he told her. Whoever took that pic knew what they were doing. No timestamps, no device ID. They're good. Government level clean. So, you think it was the FBI? I think someone wants you to believe that. He paused. Ava, I also found something else. He shared his screen. A document, encrypted, hidden deep in a classified database labeled Omega Directive. He cracked a small part of it. Inside were dossiers, dozens of them, each one a woman, each one a survivor, and one name chilled Ava to her bones. Dr. Islam Madden, Subject 001. The irony was cruel. Isla wasn't the creator of the garden. She had once been its first seed, and now Ava understood. The garden wasn't a cult. It was a harvest cycle, a system designed to break, rebuild, and weaponize emotionally traumatized women over and over again. But for what? And why her? Ava revisited the drive Lena's sister gave her. There were fragments Nate had overlooked, corrupted files. Among them, a distorted audio log. She played it. The voice was unmistakable. Marla Jennings. Phase 3 begins when the subject believes they've broken free. That's when they're most vulnerable, most pliable. The key isn't control, it's conviction. Ava's heart pounded. She hadn't escaped the garden. She had been recruited. Suddenly, it made sense. The FBI agent at the library parking lot, the fake badge, the orchestrated rescue, the live stream conveniently going viral overnight. It had all been manufactured. And now, Ava had something even more dangerous than trauma. She had a following. A few days later, Ava received an anonymous package. No return address. Inside was a sleek black folder. She opened it slowly. Dozens of printed photographs spilled out. Women, crying, screaming, all under therapy in interrogation rooms or holding bloody weapons. On the final page, we planted the seeds. You have the voice. Lead the harvest. Attached was a burner phone. It rang instantly. She hesitated, then answered. A modulated voice spoke. You survived the test. They all fail. Until you. Ava, welcome home. She hung up, shaking. She couldn't breathe. Later that night, she met with Nate in secret. I'm being set up, she said. You're not being set up, Ava, he replied darkly. You're being chosen. They want you to continue it. And if I refuse, they'll make you disappear. Or worse, they'll recast you. Ava had two options: hide or confront the garden from the inside. She made a third choice. She decided to burn it all down. She started a podcast under a pseudonym. It went viral in weeks.